Jay-Z said nobody could stand with him in a Verzuz, but let's be real, some legends already have. Before Jay was talking business in Basquiat, LL Cool J was out here knocking rappers out the box. Ice Cube had dropped 3 classics before Jay even had a deal. Nas gave us Illmatic before Jay gave us Doubt. So tonight on Grown Man Bars, we're settling this once and for all. Who really built the strongest catalog in hip-hop?
Championship catalog, bruh, LL, Cube, Weezy, Nas. Man, y'all better warm up, because Hov, you might got that smoke coming, player.
What's really good, fam? Welcome to Grown Man Bars, the best Gen X hip-hop show on the interwebs, where you hear Gen X rap talks from the folks who lived it with you. If you're a 70s baby, you're in the right place, so go on ahead and smash that like and subscribe and ring that championship bell for notifications and join the GMB family. I'm your man, Chad, and that man next to me is the only man who can rewind a stream with a pencil, Big Absolute. You know us Gen Xers, we come up with some ways to fix stuff, man. We fix shit. We were the generation that folded that little piece of cardboard and put it up under the tape when it started skipping.
No, we talking
Yeah,
counting.
don't act like we didn't.
Crazy work today. It's going to be crazy work today. I like it though. You know me, healthy.
That's right. You know this is the stuff I like to talk about. And y'all get on me in the comments for it, saying, why are we putting these two people up against each other? This ain't fair. Well, this time, y'all can't blame me. It's Jay-Z's fault. Jay-Z said, quote, "There's not a chance anyone can stand on that stage with me." And that's in reference to a Verzuz competition. Let me start with a little bio on Jay. Sean Corey Carter was born in Brooklyn's Marcy Projects and rose from street hustler to global hip-hop icon and business mogul. After being overlooked by major labels, he co-founded Rockefeller Records and released Reasonable Doubt in 1996, a mafioso-styled masterpiece that announced him as one of rap's sharpest lyricists. Over the next 2 decades, Jay became hip-hop's ultimate blueprint for longevity, evolving through eras like The Blueprint, The Black Album, 444, each redefining maturity, success, and vulnerability in rap. With over a dozen #1 albums, countless Grammy wins, and a catalog that bridges street storytelling, luxury aspiration, and introspection, Jay-Z stands as one of the most complete MCs in hip-hop history. And just because you know I am a nerd who loves numbers, Jay-Z has 4 Hot 100s that reached #1 and 105 songs that made the Billboard. His most played radio signature song was Empire State of Mind, which was 5 weeks at the Hot 100 #1 and 8 weeks #1 on radio songs. His Spotify streaming numbers are at about 22.2 billion, and his estimated streaming albums and singles is over 100 million total equivalent units. Not that anybody needed to know that, but Jay-Z has put in work. Let me start, BA. When I heard this, it's one of those statements. Look, I get braggadocio in hip-hop. Doesn't bother me at all. I want every rapper to think that they're the best rapper ever. I think they should. I think that's what draws the best competition. And when I heard it, I was like, immediately when somebody makes those claims, the first thing I think in my head is, nah, bro, nah. But the more I thought about it, he's got room to make the argument. I'm saying it's not a crazy argument. I'm not saying I necessarily go with him, because we're going to hash this out as we go. But it's not a crazy argument. What'd you think when you first heard it?
Me? Moi? What did I think?
Yeah.
I think he was lying
Yes,
to
sir.
himself. He was lying to himself. I understand. I have said on many occasions that I'm okay with having 3 friends in my life, because I fucks with me heavy. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I understand somebody standing on business for their own skills, their style, whatever. But here's what's funny to me. And of course I say this, take it jovial as you will. But he already knows that's a lie, because there was this thing that happened called the Hard Knock Life Tour. And on said tour was a guy, what was that dude's name? what was that guy's name? And you told this very famous story about what had to happen after you had to follow X on the stage. Now, this is
Now
X,
you go.
first album being X. This ain't 5-album X. This is first album X.
He's in the hallway.
All you hear is boom, 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 boom.
And I'm like, this is cool. And then he goes,
Everybody that was on that tour at that point in time was like, we can just pack our shit and go.
So I think it's an interesting conversation because I know when most people think about verses, they automatically think catalog versus catalog. And if you're strictly talking about a body of work over time, they're just from longevity alone and the level of project, he's right. There's not a lot of people that can get on the elevator and go to that floor.
Well, hold on. Because you brought that up, let's look at it this way first. So a verse is how it actually takes place is 20 songs, it's 20 rounds. So it's 20 songs a piece. That changes
It
a
does.
catalog conversation because even Nelly could jump into a 20 song verses and Nelly could
let me
make
tell
some
you
noise
something.
on that.
Sidebar. I don't know if Nelly could win 20 songs. I never would say he would go 20-0. But depending on what 8 songs he came out to the gate, Nelly could be up 8-0 quickly.
He could definitely be up 3 touchdowns by halftime.
The format favors people like Nelly,
All right, so
like Ludacris, like.
Let's look at it from the format first, and then we'll move to the bigger legacy catalog discussion. Format-wise, this is where I do disagree with Jay-Z as well. I'm not going to say that he's not someone who couldn't be beaten, but I'm going to say it is nowhere near as clear as his tone and voice made it sound. And I understand why he said it that way, because
Right.
he said it about himself, and I get that. And he should feel that way about himself. I am not knocking that at all. That is the way every big name rapper should feel. In a 20 versus 20, it's different because 20 versus 20 doesn't have anything to do with longevity. It doesn't matter how long you've been in this game. It's if you got 20 good songs. And you got Eminem, Lil Wayne, Drake, Kendrick,
LL. Like you got
Nipsey
some
Hussle,
people,
LL, Cube,
and then the obvious
Scarface,
too, of course, Nas and Kanye. Like you, 20 songs. But now again, I believe the intent he meant to say when he says nobody can stand on that stage with me is if I lined up, like you said, from the inception all the way down to 444, right?
Mm.
That's a hard journey to walk on. I mean, and I didn't count, so I don't need you all in the comments to my, it's really 14. But I'm just saying, on a 10 album run, how many of your favorite artists not only have 10 albums, but 10 good ones? It's a
That's
battle.
a battle. Yeah, it's just like you said, it's just like
Each round.
boxing. We score each round. We don't look at it at the end and
Yeah,
go,
I mean, I
"Well,
remember
think
the
he won."
third he had. I think it's gonna be a lot interesting that people talk about.
And let me say this about the show for anybody who's listening to this part. I'd really like to highlight that, make this and make its own chapter. This show is an opinion show. We try to phrase everything to let you guys know it's an opinion with an I think, with an in my opinion. Sometimes we forget to do that, but it's always clear that we're talking opinion here. We are not speaking in facts. I don't get to decide what facts are in hip hop. I'm a guest here to begin with, so I don't get to decide what the facts are in hip hop. And honestly, neither does BA. Nobody gets to decide what the capital T truth is in hip hop. You get to decide what your own truth is. And that's what we're talking about. And we do that to bring in conversation from other people that are like, nah, man, I think it's this. That's the fun part. That's what's so fun about rap is that you can have so many arguments about
And you're
who's this and
supposed to.
who's that. Let's start with just a 20 on 20. Where do you think he would rank as far as people? Let's just like the top 5, top 10, top 20.
Pardon me, YouTube, but to even carry out past 10 is goddamn ridiculous. Jay-Z could
That is a
Jay-Z
very
could-
Southern thing too, to put a cuss
Jay-Z
word in
could
between
spot
syllables.
somebody 5 songs and only put 15 songs in a top 20 battle and still be argumentatively in the top 10 easily with that in that format. I think he's top 5, but I don't think it's clear. It's one of those things where I would listen to an argument. If somebody had another 5 that didn't include him, I wouldn't be like, you're wrong. I would be like, probably see that too. But anything outside the 10, just say no.
Yeah, I think that is the way that, at least on this channel, I think we like to do these rankings. I'm not necessarily concerned with who your 1 through 5 is or 1 through 10. I'm just more concerned of like who's in the 10 and who's not.
How you put where.
I don't care where you rank them, but if you got Cardi B at number 9, then I need to know who you took out. You all right?
It just
Your eyes
hurts when
twitching.
because
You all right? Yeah, your allergies acting up. But you know, if you put people like that in there, I just need to know. I just want to know your explanation. I'm not gonna call you crazy because you like what you like. You know, do you? But I
mean,
would like an
probably
explanation.
the only thing I wouldn't listen to, if somebody's top 5, if they looked me in my face and said it's simply Dylon, 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 Dylon. Because I spit hot
because
fire,
I spit hot fire.
right? But other than that,
You're too close, man.
It's always worth the listen.
And you can always go back. Something that you might be sure about, if you haven't heard it in a while, go back and listen to it because you might not be so sure about it anymore. Things age differently.
Conversation you had earlier about Reasonable Doubt and Ready to Die. I hated both of those albums when they first came out. I can say that honestly. I love both of those albums now, but I hated both of them.
It took me 4 years to like T.I.
Yeah, I talked so bad about Rubber Band Man, and then one day out of the blue,
I was so mad at that track.
I started rocking it. It's like, wow, listen to Taliban. I used to say that line was stupid as hell, and then it became the group.
The first time, you know what I said the first time I heard it? I sounded like I was from New York. I was like, this is some down south Bama shit right here. I thought the most fun way to do it, at least for our audience, was to let's go through eras and identify who might be fucking with Jay in eras. So we got to start with Jay's era, the greatest era ever, 1988 to 1996. This is a little bit tougher, especially at the first part of this era, because the guys in the 80s, hip hop just wasn't big enough to really be able to compare like sales and chart hits and that kind of thing, because the numbers have changed. I see how you looking at me, BA. The numbers have changed so much, man. Gold was a big thing in the 80s, and now
in the 80s.
And now if it doesn't go platinum, we say it was that album didn't do shit.
If you aim for gold, maybe you should do R&B. Maybe you should try a different genre.
If you're in jazz, you're doing good.
Classical goes gold a lot.
So who we got with 88 to 96? We can bring in Rakim, Nas, Scarface, Kane, KRS-One, and let's just keep it simple right there. There's plenty of other. We'll get to him. LL Cool J is obviously in that. LL, look, man, LL is mentioned in every decade of hip hop.
He literally can be mentioned in all of these eras for a reason.
He can. Yeah, and I got a story about him later. Those are the guys: Nas, Scarface, Kane, Rakim, KRS-One, and LL. And when I look at all those guys, as big as all those names are, I don't think any of those guys outside of Nas and Scarface have, and Scarface is not quite in the same level to me, and I'll explain that in a second, but I think it's Jay-Z, Nas, and Scarface out of that group, because we've talked about how as much as KRS-One needs his flowers, he needs to be loved by hip-hop more than he is, he just isn't. And Kane and Rakim might be in the argument for best lyricist ever. In fact, Rakim is the person who I think is the best lyricist ever. But Rakim didn't have a ton. He didn't have enough songs. I think if you go 20 for 20 with Jay-Z, Rakim's going to run out of gas towards the end of that with his songs because his songs weren't like what Jay-Z's songs are. Rakim wasn't making songs for clubs or for the masses or anything like that. Rakim made songs for Rakim. His skill was what drew us to him. Scarface and Nas are interesting to me because Nas's catalog has gotten stronger over time. So I think that we'll break these down individually as we go. But so I think that's one place. But how do you feel about the 88 to 96 era in a verses with somebody like Jay?
To be honest, it's the most unfair era because most of the love Jay will get is for most of his songs outside of the era. And so now you're talking about, for that reason, I would give him the edge. And I say this, and when I say this, you know that I'm not sugarcoating it because you know how I feel. I would say the only feasible battle from this era would be Cool J, but I don't think he could beat him only because, again, a lot of Cool J songs were top notch right in this pocket, but they won't go well against Jay-Z's 2000 catalog. So if you take 99 Problems, who were produced by the same person, if you take both of those, they won't sound the same. So you couldn't put a Mama Said Knock You Out against a Street That's Watching.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
You know what I'm saying? Against a blue, like it's very difficult.
Yeah, you don't want to put Marley Marl from 88 against Just Blaze. That's not, in a straight up versus that in a club setting, that is stage setting, that's not going to work.
Artists like Face, which I'm with you, Face would be very intriguing because his songs would be received at a different frequency than Jay, because he can touch a nerve that Jay can't really live in. Face doesn't really have a club banger, but outside of Song Cry and a couple joints on 444, Jay-Z doesn't own a Never Seen a Man Cry. He doesn't own a Now I Feel You. So he can't really get there. And then ironically, the song they did together, Jay still couldn't get to the place that Face got to on This Can't Be Life.
Face lives in a place that most people can't, most rappers
Nas's
can't get to.
problem is Nas could literally go song for Jay, but they're not meant to be performed. Nas's songs are meant to be listened to. They're not meant to be performed. And so from the performance aspect,
that was what I was going
to do it.
That's what I was going to say about Nas is Nas doesn't make radio hits. So Nas's music isn't built for this kind of thing because it's like you say, it's poetry. So
you got,
it is not
Street
built
Dreams,
for this.
If I Rule the World, like there's a couple he could give you. But for the most part, they're all cerebral songs. They're made to really get at you and spark something inside of you.
And you don't want to put those tracks from the Lost Tapes up against Hard Knock Life.
No, Jesus, no.
That just won't work.
Especially not against that album. Jesus, no.
All right, we'll move to the mixtape era, which we'll call 2003 to 2010, where you got Wayne, 50 Cent, T.I., and Luda.
This era came alive right about the time when his first evolution happened. This is now where we see guys who make songs to be on stage. Yes, we're talking catalog. If you go in the same era and you just take the Jay-Z project that came out the same time or within a few months of Get Rich and Die Trying, which one of those albums performed way better on stage? If you take that same situation and you do College Dropout on stage, out of all of these artists, 50 could give him a problem. T.I. could give him a problem because by here, T.I. is on album 4 now. I believe T.I. is on the 4th project, which I think was T.I. versus T.I.P., which was a problem, even though they did a song together. It was a problem. And the obvious problem for most people is Kanye. That is the obvious problem. That's not where I'm going to go. In this era right here, His biggest problem is Wayne.
It is.
I don't care how you separate it. You separated the Dedication series or the Carter series, because now we're talking 1, 2, and 3.
Or the No Ceilings.
Because he doesn't have that. The mixtape bag, to me, gives Wayne and 50 a little edge.
Because Wayne's mixtape run gives him like 8,000 more songs. He was dropping 2 mixtapes a month. All right, finally, we'll go to the, like you say, we'll feed the baby birds. Yeah, 2010 to the present, I pulled out 3 main people because these are really the only 3 people in this era that I think have a shot at it, and that's Drake, Kendrick, and Cole, the big 3.
Drake is a problem in this scenario. Drake is a problem in this scenario.
Big problem in this scenario.
And so is Kendrick. But again, with Cole is Nas in this same scenario from the golden era.
He is.
Cole can match 20 songs with Jay's 20 songs in this era. Like if you're just talking 2010 till now. Cole has 20 for him. The problem is they don't perform well. So in a versus battle where it's song for song, you just don't have a movement. Now, everybody knows how we feel about it, but in this situation, I'm going to yield that Kendrick is 2 in this situation. That Drake's catalog in a versus is a problem. And for those of you who know me, I actually had this conversation with some young Thundercats the other day, and I refused to say that he had a snowball's chance in hell. Then I had to think about it. I had to think about the format.
As much as I don't like saying this, I don't think Kendrick really could do it. Because I think Kendrick runs out of gas before we get to 20 songs. And it's not because of his artistry. It's just because of his catalog. He's got a lot of songs that are related to strictly for the culture. And that isn't going to play well against It Was All Good just a week ago. Or it's not going to play well against those songs that Jay-Z had, girls, girls, girls. Well, while we're here, we might as well start with building a case for Jay-Z. And we can deconstruct that later. I have always said that I think Jay-Z may be the best rapper at creating albums. We've said this several times before, that Jay-Z's albums are so well crafted that they all feel like they couldn't be in any other place. Like 3 couldn't be at 7. It wouldn't work that way. The tracks have to be where they are. It's a narrative. It works. There's several albums that do that. The Score did that. Like you can't take one out. If you take one out, there's a hole in it. And that just means that you put that album together really well. So I give him a lot of credit for that. Longevity. I will give him a lot of credit for this. Jay stayed, I don't want to say he pandered because, I mean, that's just the best way to describe it, but I don't want to say pander, but he stayed with a young audience for a while. But once he got to where he felt like he was grown man, he moved his rap to that era. Like he didn't try to stay in acting a little too young for his age. Like he accepted it and just moved it to grown man talk. So by the time we get to 444, he's talking about Basquiat's and investing and things like that. His music grew with him. He didn't try to stay young in an era. And like we say, he's got 14 #1 albums over 4 decades now. He's been in it for 4 decades with 105 songs that have hit the Billboard charts. Streaming numbers are big, sales are big. That doesn't necessarily translate to a versus. But honestly, if I pick the 20 songs of his that I like the most, I have a hard time without digging into everybody else, thinking of somebody that I immediately go, oh, this guy can beat him. There aren't that many people that I think can do that. So I will give him credit that what he said was not outrageous. If you can make an argument for what you say, I'm not going to call you an idiot.
Since we're arguing now on his side, I'll throw in my 2 cents, literally with just 2 points. One, he might be one of the most quotable MCs out there. He has thousands of quotables. People use his lyrics as a quotable and turn them into whole song. and hooks.
Yeah, and hooks.
The other thing I'm going to say about Jay, which makes Jay a tough out in Versus, is a nod that we gave him several months ago. And we always come back to this when we talk about Jay. Jay's ability to construct a project is second to none. And he cares very much about how he builds an album, not necessarily the success of a certain song from an album. And I think he would take that same tactic on a Versus stage. He would construct 20 songs in a manner in which he would do a project in order to make one cohesive flow in 20 songs. That's the genius of Jay. That's the problem that artists like a Wayne would have to have. Artists like you would have to construct this to where you couldn't go off the fly and try to match his off the fly, because you're going to get off your set list and then you're in trouble.
Yeah, you're gonna have to treat this like a football game. You're gonna have to game plan for this. You're gonna have to playlist. All right, so let's look at some of the challengers. Now that we built Jay-Z up as to having the catalog to be able to pull this off, the first obvious challenger is Nas. And we said this earlier, there is nothing bad to say about Nas's career, because I'll be completely honest with you, he dropped what at the time was considered the greatest album ever. And while he had a bit of an identity crisis for about the next 2-3 albums after that, he's done nothing but get stronger in his career. His music is getting somehow better.
And when Illmatic is your freshman
as
project,
he goes along,
your sophomore album it can't live up to that. It just can't.
If you win the NBA title your rookie year and then you win 49 games the next year, we like, I don't know, bruh. Maybe we were wrong about him. But like we say, I just don't think Nas has the type of song in a Versus. And he actually said this kind of the same thing when we talked about a couple of weeks ago, his interview about performing in the Super Bowl. He said, I don't want to perform in the Super Bowl because that's not what I do. Those shows are big and they're outrageous and they're performances. And he said, I don't do that. That's not what I do. And that is what a Versus is it's a big performance. Like, you're trying to win the crowd over, and that's not what Nas does. He just does his thing, and either you like it or you don't.
Take it off the Versus stage and put it on an MTV Unplugged setting? Now Jay has a problem.
If it's a tiny desk, Jay's
because
got a
Jay
problem.
doesn't have a one mic. I don't care. He just doesn't. Not in that setting. He doesn't have a one mic. That's a changer for sure.
If he uses that song last, that's Nas's number 20 song. That's bringing in Mariano
closer,
Rivera. That's bringing in the
closer,
Sandman.
baby.
That's right. Enter Sandman. All right, so the next one, I don't want to watch you smile as soon as I say his name. To me, was the most obvious when he first said it, but it is Ladies Love Cool James, the first hip-hop superstar. Broke barriers before mainstream rap even existed. Radio, Bigger and Deffer, Mama Said Knock You Out in that era. Jack the Ripper, I Need Love. And if you don't think those two songs are far apart, you out of your damn mind. Reinvented himself across 3 decades and has made hits in 5 of them. From 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and the 2020s. Just dropped one last year. Hot number ones, he's got 1 hot number 1 on the 100, 28 that made the top 100. His most played radio signature songs are All I Have, Love You Better, and Mama Said Knock You Out. It was. Spotify streams to this date for LL 1.5 billion, album sales 13.8 million aggregated, according to bestsellingalbums.org, and hits in 5 decades. That last part is really what does it for me. Nobody has done that, and I've called him Hank Aaron on this show a lot because that's just what he feels like to me. Like, Hank Aaron broke the record at the time for most home runs, but he never hit 50 or 60 home runs in one season. He hit 30 for 20 years. And people might look at that like, oh, he just played a long time and stacked stats. I don't think you understand how hard it is to be great for
Think you
20
understand.
years. Well, LL has done it
Or how
for
hard it is to hit a
50.
baseball at 100 miles an hour in your 40s. Like that. Hand-eye coordination doesn't get better with age, people. It does not.
I got a lot of gym injuries to prove that depth perception ain't what it used to be. That's what LL was to me, is he never was, I guess outside of when he first dropped, it was nobody was ever, oh my God, LL Cool J after that first year or two. It was always, oh yeah, LL. We forget about him every decade, and every decade he reminds us why we shouldn't. He always comes out with a project or does something to remind us, hey, I'm still that
Man,
dude you thought I
murdergrammed.
was. But yeah, I mean, if we're talking 20 for 20, and if we move into talking catalogs while we're talking to these guys, Nas's catalog and LL's catalog to me probably beat Jay-Z's catalog. New York, I know y'all gonna be mad at me. I'm
No,
sorry, I
hell,
piss
they
y'all
all
off
from
all
New
the
York.
time.
Just embrace it. Right? Just
That's,
you know what I'm
that's
saying?
true.
You got
That's true.
Queens. You know what I'm saying? You got just is it the Brooklyn Queens thing? Is that what it is? Is that what it is?
Look, we talking
Marcy,
Hollis,
son.
Marcy, and
Come on now,
Queensbridge, man.
Hollis, Queens,
Yeah.
Marcy. What we talking about?
I mean, LL's got a 50-year catalog, so we're talking catalog.
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
Don't argue with us. Argue with your mama. What
I
are we
mean,
doing?
argue with LL's mama, because this 50 years of album, he's made albums longer than I've been alive. That is where, now I know he doesn't necessarily have the sales to match with Jay-Z, but if we're talking catalog versus catalog, in a 20 versus 20, depending on who your audience is, because LL's best hits, his early ones, won't hit the same with this audience.
The only problem in the argument.
Yep. It's because some of his songs
I mean, you have
are
to
50
understand
years
also
old.
in the sales. I'm glad you brought that up. You have to understand that 2/3 of his career was over before streaming became a thing. So all of his 13 point, not all, but the majority of his 13.8, that's 1995.
He also had
Say it
11
again. Say it
consecutive
again.
platinum albums. 11 consecutive platinum albums. So yes, I think catalog wise, I think LL gets Jay-Z. 20 versus 20 in a versus, I think LL has enough to make that debatable. You know, it's going to go to who likes what, how you set everything up. But if we're just looking at it on paper, like they say in football, on paper.
And let me say about LL just real quick. LL actually has battle tracks that were hits. In a versus battle, those play well on stage. Timing wise, those play well on stage.
Cube came in with America KKK's Most Wanted, Death Certificate, and The Predator, which is one hell of a way to start your career. After the NWA stuff, he has a catalog. I'm going to say, I think Cube and LL have the best catalogs in rap. But I think Cube has a better catalog than Jay does. I'm sorry, again, New York. I think Cube would have a problem against Jay in a 20 versus 20.
If it was in California.
Because not if it was on the West Coast. It depends on where this event is held. He would have a problem with it, though, because, I mean, he's got bangers, especially if he brings in the West Side Connection stuff.
He would only, they would have to do this in St. Louis, because you couldn't do it in Chicago. Chicago is, I mean, it's still so close to the East Coast. You couldn't do it in Virginia. You couldn't even do it in Houston, because if you did it in Houston, that's too closer to the West Coast sound. So you couldn't really do it in the South, and you couldn't really do it in the Midwest, the Chi area, or Virginia. It would have to be Kansas City, St. Louis, because that's probably as even of a crowd as you're going to get for the type of artists that are in that area.
I feel like the Cube doesn't get the credit for his catalog that he deserves. A big part of it is the West Coast bias. Yeah. And a big part of it is just, I think Cube's personality scares white people.
What your man Kim Jong said, have you seen you? You would run from you.
Exactly. I don't know where that leaves Cube in anybody else's mind, But 50-year careers are not something that a lot of people get to do. I don't care what you do. So this is what troubles me with Cube. He's only had 12 Hot 100 songs. His most played radio song,
You know what it was.
everybody knows it was a good day.
You know
It peaked at number 7, but also You Know How We Do It. You Know How We Do It got a lot of good radio play as well. His Spotify streams are at about 5.2 billion, with 1.4 billion of those being
Good day.
It Was a Good Day. His album sales are between 9 and 10 million aggregated, which for almost 50 years of rap at this point, that's not as high of a number as I'd like to see. But Cube is in a very special niche in hip hop. Like, he does gangster rap.
Right.
And I think that would make it tougher in a 20 versus 20 with Jay-Z, because it's all gangster rap versus all the polished mafioso shit that Jay does.
Yeah.
That would be tough. All right, another one. I will just let you take this one. The other one that we thought is the mixtape architect, Lil Louisiana. How you think Lil Louisiana stacks first total catalog and then in a 20 verse 20?
I mean, I'll sum it up real quick. When you look at all of this and you look at the first number that most people look at, which is Hot 100s, nobody has as many Hot 100s as Jay. So, I mean, that's not a fact that you can really argue. Nobody on the list we're talking about. Spotify streams for Wayne is 36.8 billion. 100 million reported records worldwide. Digital single sales, 167 million. So here's the problem with Jay versus Wayne. Wayne's career is structured for a versus battle.
That's what he does.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where Jay-Z has evolved 3 to 4 times in his career, Wayne has had 4 careers in his career. He's been 4 different types of artists in his career.
It's also a Southern rapper. And you and I have talked about this before. Southern rappers make club music.
Good music. They make good.
That's what they do.
I mean, with Lollipop probably being the biggest of all the songs, this is commercial success, not the hood. This is commercial success, because what Lollipop gave Wayne was not only his biggest commercial hit, but his biggest crossover commercial hit. Everybody rock Lollipop. And understand, let's fast forward Lollipop till COVID. Let's say he released Lollipop during COVID. TikTok would have exploded. It would have exploded. It'd have been 9 billion TikTok videos from housewives in Nova Scotia all the way to Minot, North Dakota, doing 30-second TikTok videos, lip-syncing words of Wayne and Lollipop.
Hold on, man. You couldn't lick nobody like a lollipop during COVID.
I mean, you couldn't, but somebody would turn it into some Lysol spray. It'd have had, I'm telling you, TikTok would have shut down for 4 days, because you could have went at that 3 or 4 different ways. Sexual, anti-vax, vax. Like, you could have went at it so many different ways. But that's why Wayne is the biggest problem, I think, to date, because where Kanye's evolution teetered off and would have easily given Jay the nod, Wayne's didn't. Wayne's evolution got more suited for this exact argument. That's the crazy part. That's how I feel about that.
All right. Let's go to the final decision, just to wrap this segment up. The final decision, is Jay right?
Yeah. The only reason why I say yes is because for everybody we gave an argument to, there's some sort of stipulation that must come with it. I think, though, I would love to see him and Wayne play out. Because to see it actually unfold, it could go either way. It's 50-50.
Plus, they had a little bit of a beef there for a little while, and I would be interested in that.
After they did a song together.
So for me, I will say that I'll agree with you on Lil Wayne, but I'll say Jay-Z was right twice. I do think it is very hard to make an argument of somebody who could beat him in a 20 for 20. I do think he was right that Drake is probably the closest person that can do it if they did it right now. The one I would like to see is with you. I would like to see Lil Wayne go up against him, because I think Lil Wayne does have the catalog. Now, as far as to sum up the catalogs, who do you think, just out of the people we mentioned, and if there's anybody that I didn't put in the notes, feel free to bring them out. Give me a top 3 rap catalogs for you, but in no particular order. Just who you would call your top 3.
Solo artists would be J, Slim, and LL.
I think I go with J, Cube, and LL. I take Eminem out because we didn't mention Eminem as a potential for this, but he's got the hits that match up without a doubt, and his streaming numbers are insane.
He's the
So
only
it's
one
obvious.
on paper. I feel like it's a wash on paper. We talk about fights all the time. Styles make fights.
All right, so everybody, if you will now please direct your attention to the center of the dance floor. It is time for the absolute truth.
Argue with your mom. Hey, man, do y'all remember, I don't know, when bars kind of met books? When hip-hop kind of became something else? Let's talk about a time when hip-hop kind of took its chain off, loosened the rhyme scheme, and stepped into a raw pulse of what we now know as spoken word. Introducing the Def Poetry Jam. Before HBO's camera and bright lights, spoken word lived in open mics, bookstores, cafes. It was a movement powered by the people. It came from the same soil as hip-hop, but a different plant. Then came the early 2000s, when Uncle Russell, the godfather of Def Jam, decided to give poetry a platform that had the same respect and eyeballs as hip-hop. The result? Def Poetry Jam, a groundbreaking HBO series that ran from 2002 to 2007 like a whirlwind pyramid, blending intellect, soul, street rhythms into one mic-dropping experience. And at the center stood none other than the mighty Yasim Bey himself, the mighty Mos Def. He wasn't just a host, he was a spiritual guide. This dude was cool, insightful, and groundbreaking. Some of the greats blessed the Def Jam stage. Of course, Kanye gave us Bittersweet, Common gave us A Letter to the Law, and the legendary KRS-One, with help from Dougie Fresh, gave us Second Quarter. But it wasn't just the hip-hop artists. Guys like Black Ice, Georgia Me, Bo Sia, Poetry, Maya DeVille, and Sonia Sanchez. These truth tellers reminded the world that a bar is a bar, whether you're considered a rapper or a spoken word artist. Def Poetry Jam wasn't just a show, it was a bridge. It brought Langston Hughes to the same table as Lauryn Hill. And when we talk about hip-hop's legacy, don't just count the Grammys, count the impact. Because on that stage, under those lights, hip-hop found its reflection and poetry found its echo. And that, my friends, is the absolute truth.
We real cool. We left school. We lurk late. We strike straight. We sing sin. We thin gin. We jazz June. We dot some. Gwendolyn Brooks.
Gwendolyn Brooks,
Def
Def
poet,
Poet.
y'all.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
get it going. Okay, y'all. Gather around the campfire. Chad got a story to tell.
Here we go again.
I got a little story cipher that's going to bleed right into my lyrical lockdown for this week. The lyrical lockdown for this week, I'm going to be talking about LL Cool J's Mama Said Knock You Out. But there's a story that goes behind that whole album.
Oh,
And I want to talk about it. By 1989, hip-hop had already started changing. The sound had gotten harder because you had Public Enemy, you had BDP, you had Big Daddy Kane, Tribe Called Quest. You had people who were really starting to go into much harder, much more complex topics. The sound got harder, the image got rougher, and LL Cool J was still known as Mr. I Need Love and was getting clowned for being too commercial, too pop. His album Walking with a Panther went gold, but the street said he fell off. Rappers were taking shots, fans were moving on, and LL's crown was starting to slip. But that's when the GOAT did what real ones do. He went back to the lab. He linked up with Marley Marl, the producer from Queenbridge who knew how to make a record hit like a right hook. And out of that hunger came Mama Said Knock You Out. That line, that one bar that everybody in our generation is watching this show knows. He shut the game up. Everything changed. LL walked back into hip hop like a boxer who never left the gym. The flow was sharper, the bass was heavier, and that confidence was unmatched. It was aggressive, raw, and pure Hollis Queen swagger. He didn't just win fans back with that, he shut everybody up. The title track went platinum, the album went double, and he walked away with Grammy for Best Rap Solo Performance, the first rapper to ever win that category. And that is how you shut the critics up. That's why when you talk catalogs, you better put some respect on the name Todd Smith. Todd. He lets me call him Todd. Okay, so the line that I was talking about that everybody from our generation knows when you think about LL, it might be the first line you think about. Don't call it a comeback.
I've been here for years.
LL was already proving rappers could grow, fall off, and then come back swinging. This verse right here, it's not just confidence, it's combat. He was angry. Y'all were telling him that he didn't have the skill to do it anymore, and he was like, wait, what, did something about me change? So back in 1990, when most rappers faded after one or two albums, LL decided to remind him why he was the original Mike Gladiator. Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years, rocking my peers, putting suckers in fear. Right away, the cadence is a clean 4/4 bounce. He's riding each snare like a boxer's jab. Those rhyme chains,
Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. I'm rocking my peers. What suckers are fear.
years, peers, fears, tears, that is a perfect A-rhyme structure, and it's what makes that stick in your head 30 years later. Listen to how tight his delivery is when he does it. His chest voice. He says it with his chest. Full control, no wasted breath, but he's not yelling, he's just projecting. LL treats every bar like a boxing combo. The jab is the setup, the hook is the punchline, and then he pauses, and that breath is part of the rhythm. And when he hits, listen to the bass. Boom, explosion. That's command. That's preacher's energy. It's basically room control when there's no room to control. He's not just rapping to you. He's rapping over the beat like he owns it. He'd been quiet since Walking with a Panther, and critics had thought he was gone soft. So when he went back to Queens to link up with Marley Marl and cook up something that sounded like a championship bell, people went nuts. So when people talk about catalogs and comebacks, remember this. LL was the first one to take a career punch and swing back with a classic. If you're an LL fan, you know this ain't the first time that he did this in his career. LL has reinvented himself probably more than anybody else over 50 years, and that is why LL is in the GOAT conversation. That's your lyrical lockdown for Mama Said Knock You Out. And if you tell me that song still don't make you want to punch somebody in the face, you ain't from my generation.
Oh, when you get finished down there, come take out this garbage.
Better come pick this garbage up.
Breaking news.
All right. Rap news, y'all. Not a lot going on, but some interesting things. Last week, according to Rolling Stone, Kendrick's latest album has dropped out of the top 40. Last week was the first week in 35 years in which no hip-hop song was in the top 40.
Yes.
35 years. Told you your music sucks.
Right. That's awesome. Look here, young people, young Thundercats. When millennial white people stop listening to your music, they can't get jiggy with it anymore. This is twofold for me. I'm actually happy about this, to be honest. To quote a very famous movie,
Everything that has a beginning.
and I don't believe hip hop is ending. I'm not saying that.
Hmm.
But history does repeat itself, good, bad, and indifferent. And I believe since hip hop started with no radio play, we started with no top 40, we started with no Billboard, and we got some of the best hip hop. I hope that in this quiet time, we fundamentally find what it takes to get our art to the next 50 years. I hope it's a rewind.
I'm with you. I really hope that this pushes people back to satisfying the streets. I do have some bad news. This is 3 weeks in a row. This is the third one. They do come in threes. According to People magazine, MC Young Bleed has passed away at 51. Young Bleed was an influential Southern rapper affiliated with No Limit Records. He passed away after suffering a brain aneurysm. That is yet another young, way too young person to lose in the game. R.I.P. to Young Bleed.
Yeah, it's crazy work because he was at Verzuz. He performed at the Verzuz. P did how you do that there. Like, that's which is
that dude
classic.
had a voice, man. That dude's voice.
I say, who that?
Ooh.
Say you want to do that.
When he came on the track, like he had that reverend voice too, man. He came on it. And finally, in rap news, Jeezy sets a Guinness World Record with largest hip-hop orchestra in Vegas. During his Las Vegas residency, congratulations, Jeezy, on a residency in Vegas. Celebrating the 20th anniversary of Let's Get It Thug Motivation 101, Jeezy performed with a 101-piece orchestra and earned a Guinness Book World Record. I like that Jeezy's still out here doing things. Okay, now it's time for my favorite segment, BA. It's time for
Book It or Cook It.
BA, Book It or Cook It. DMX shifted the entire sound of late 90s rap.
Book it. Fear. Let's just start there. Fear. What DMX brought was fear. People were scared of him. And I mean that musically. It's one thing to be compared to Tupac. And he was. He was supposed to be the next Tupac. But then he evolved before his second album was ever released. That's the crazy part. He was just X. When you get famous for making dog sounds and praying on stage, you're a problem. That's all I'm saying. Definitely book it.
Book it or cook it, Redman still out-raps most of today's MCs in 2025.
Book it. Easily. I'm not even going to go to it. I'm just not. Muddy Waters 2. We can continue. I'm not going to.
Book it or cook it, the Dog Pound is a top 3 rap duo ever.
Book it. That's tough. Hold on, I'm going through it. Let me reevaluate. That's tough.
The 8 Ball, Mobb Deep, Cass, Run DMC.
Because Run DMC is one. I don't care what anybody says, Run. Okay, I'm going to stick with Cook It. Cook It, right? And I say Cook It just because I can't find a spot to move them into 3. 5, easily top 5.
Book it or cook it, 1988 is the single most important year in hip-hop history.
That we don't book it. Watch any show we have said. Well, I'll start with 88 and I'll drag in 4 more years. But from 88 to 92, not only did you get every sound that hip-hop would eventually become, but you got it simultaneously. It didn't step on each other. It made space. And there was nothing to copy. Public Enemy didn't have another Public Enemy to copy. Right? You didn't have any of this for them to go, oh, that's how you should do that. So definitely book it.
All right. Book it or cook it. Dungeon Family shaped the modern South more than any other crew.
A whole South.
The modern South.
Book it. The roots of the sound is too great. You hear it in Crit's music. You heard it in David Banner's music. Even though I'm just talking about overall influence of the sound, just a maturation. So book it.
Book it or cook it. No Limit versus Cash Money. Cash Money's peak was higher, but No Limit's output changed the game more.
Book it. Nobody produced albums at the rate No Limit was doing and producing good music. However, No Limit on its best day as a whole did not hit the heights that Cash Money did. And attribute that to Juvie and Wayne, but mostly Wayne.
All right, y'all. That's it for Book It or Cook It, and that is it for Grown Man Bars. I just want to tell y'all thank y'all for hanging in here with us, talking that good Gen X hip-hop shit, and hanging out with me and BA. Go ahead and smash that like and subscribe, because we really like it when you do. And go on and join us next week, because we'll be right back here talking the same shit in the same place. Appreciate y'all being here. So I'm Chad. That's BA. Y'all be good out there.
Kick ass!